All right, what up, Internet? This is the Pop Geek Podcast, episode 24. Today up on the show, we're going to be talking a little bit more about VR. There's been a couple of changes, and actually, like, the HTC Vive is kind of selling a lot of pre-sales. It hasn't come out yet.
I cannot even imagine this.
Like the numbers that are coming out are huge. Also, we're going to be talking about the Ghostbusters trailer for the new movie. We're also going to talk a little bit about the final, it's called the final, trailer for Batman v Superman before the film comes out. There's some really cool, just cool little stuff that happens in that. We're going to talk a little bit about Star Wars being a little gay. Maybe. Also the Battlefront DLC, and also Mass Effect Andromeda being pushed back one more time. So to kick it off, to talk VR, this, whether we like it or not, and I've heard this from now on different podcasts, where if you haven't tried it, apparently you just don't know with VR. So you can believe that or not.
I guess I just don't know then.
Yeah,
I still have yet to
haven't
try
tried
it, and I don't know. I just don't understand why you would want to have that just taking over your whole entire world.
Right. I've tried it to a limited extent with 360-degree video, which is a little bit different than actual VR.
True.
VR is the immersive environment that you interact with. This is like you watch a video and it's really cool. But the Vive, which which got a release date, which I believe is early in April, I believe is when it's dropping. But its pre-sales, like it hit 15,000 like immediately. And then it had sales popping even after that. The 15,000 was considered the first run. That actually shut their website down and told everyone they were sold out, which was not true.
And now this is the more expensive VR.
This is the most, right? Yeah. This is the more expensive. Like the Oculus Rift is $600. The Vive is $800. Yeah. Now here's the difference, though. Again, I didn't know this when it came out. The Oculus Rift right now is being sold with the VR head unit, a Xbox controller. And one other piece. I forgot the other piece. In one game. And that's what you get with the Oculus Rift. That's $600. The Vive comes with 3 games. The head unit that's also Bluetooth to your phone. It has the two controllers and the room setup that protects you from... It's called the Chaperone, which somehow protects you from running into stuff in your own house.
Does it have like a notification or something? I mean, how's it going
to... Does it prevent concussions?
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised. That in helmet.
Yeah. And the difference, though, is the Vive is a more immersive product. And, in my opinion, worth the $800.
Yeah.
Also, the Rift is coming with the Xbox controller because they don't have a controller. The Rift has a controller in the making that's, I believe, it's called the Touch. That'll be a separate add-on. So this could be a $200 controller. So you could be up to $800 already. And also, here is the biggest thing that everyone, or not everyone, is forgetting, but you have to have a device that can run this. Now, when it's broken down, it sounds great. Hey, it's just a video game device that plays in your headset. But VR has to run at a certain frames per second, otherwise it doesn't look right, or it makes you sick. So they're saying, like, to have a computer that can actually run at least 60 frames per second at 1080i twice. It's got to run in both eyes. Yep. So you're running 2 screens. The processing power alone is really high. You got to have they have the specs on both sites. You got to have an i5 or better to run it. And also, you cannot have a Mac.
Yeah, I did hear about that.
Yeah.
They said that
the Oculus Rift took a huge shot at Apple, telling them that they don't make quality computers.
That's bullshit.
Yeah. I mean, everyone... Look, we got 2 Macs sitting right here. The complaint is they don't put a lot of thought into their GPUs. That's fine. Macs are not gaming computers, typically. PCs are. And so when you got those NVIDIA graphics cards, the AMD graphics cards, like those are heavy-duty graphics processing. Now, you have the AMOLED screens and the high definition. They look great, but they don't have the graphics processing that like an i5 PC would have, which is only an $800 computer.
And also, too, Macs are very limited when it comes to customization. So it's like you can't just add in that graphics card.
Is it an i5? Mm-hmm. It has they do have Intel. I forgot they have Intel. But like they're really harping on them to get their GPUs in order. Otherwise, they won't make Mac exclusive stuff. Mm-hmm. But then Tim Cook came out and he says, "Well, I think VR is the future." And it always also makes you wonder if they're going to go, "Well, we want Apple VR then."
I could see Apple coming out with their own.
I could
VR.
Absolutely see them.
Having a Bluetooth with your iPhone or iPad.
How about through your Apple TV?
It's going to be better.
There you go.
Yeah, it is.
It'll probably be better. At least you guys will believe it's better.
It'll be a full helmet, just all smooth.
Yes, it'll be all light. Yeah.
It's funny because
Spaceball helmet.
Yeah, Spaceball helmet. There you go.
Apple used to always be the one to, the innovative company.
Yes.
They were always the ones that thought this stuff up. And, everybody's pretty much caught up to them. And they're not leading the pack anymore. But they also, still to this day, do, however, take what's out there and perfect it.
Yes. Yeah. That is absolutely true. Because my phone, although it costs the same as yours, is not the same as yours. The Samsung, the HTCs, they're not as good. And the quality between your products and your communication that they have is not the same.
This is an awesome phone.
Yeah, so
my friend just switched from an iPhone to a Samsung Galaxy.
Yeah.
And after a couple of days or a week, he said, I just had to switch back. I couldn't do it.
Although, according to Twitter in the latest ad I saw, I can drop this in the toilet and rinse it off, and it's fine.
Well,
my toilet phone...
Is it, though? Is it
okay?
Do you want to test
I don't know.
this?
I don't really want to test it to find out.
Well, the new Galaxy S7 supposedly is liquid cooled.
Yeah.
And it works underwater. I'm like, all right, that's
again, why?
Why?
But okay, I just would prefer not to get it wet. Yeah. Just in general. But anyway, back to the VR thing. I mean, some of it is related because you can get your Samsung phones that'll play in the head units, and actually Best Buy is running a package deal that when you buy the S7, you get the VR head unit,
the little box,
absolutely free
for absolutely free, and it's a $200 thing. I mean, that's kind of cool. Like if it was part of my package, I totally would have got it. But as of right now, I'm not dying to get the.
I don't typically promote
Best Buy.
Well, no, Best Buy I've got nothing against. I don't typically promote Android products
phones
because I am an Apple guy.
Right.
And I wasn't always an Apple guy. I will say that. I wasn't always an Apple guy.
Right.
But once I was able to afford to be an Apple guy, I became an Apple guy, and I haven't turned back.
Yeah.
I've been completely happy with everything, and everything I have now is Apple. I mean, I've got the watch, the phone, the laptop, the Apple TV, the iPads.
You've gone all in on it. Yeah. But to bring it back to the VR thing, the most important part of any of this VR, I don't care what platform you have it on, is product, is games, is content. The nice thing about the Oculus Rift and the Vive, all Steam compatible. Steam is going to be a huge player in this, and Valve is going to be a huge player in this. The other thing you got to remember this too, and IGN brought this up. These are not game companies. These are not game developers. So these game companies are kind of shaky, and there's a real good chance that one of these products is going to be Dreamcast, or is going to be the TurboGrafx 16, which is going to be, hey, look how cool it looks, but by the way, we forgot to make any content, and no one cares, and it just goes away. Now, the killer for me is that the PlayStation VR, even Steam is running Vive
Steam is promoting.
And actually,
it right now.
To mention this, I've been playing Super Hot, and Super Hot is built for the Vive.
Yep.
Is built for that because the head movement that you use your mouse for is perfect.
So
that game is a blasty blast.
I just opened Steam right now, and that was the first thing that popped up was
the VR unit. So Steam is all over this.
Okay, now you were mentioning that the Vive actually comes with 3 games.
Yes.
Do you want to know what the games that are?
Yes.
The first one, Tilt Brush.
Tilt Brush. I've seen it. It looks cool.
Yeah,
it's a paintbrush thing.
Yeah, it looks fantastic. You walk through the space and you paint with your hand or whatever and all that. It looks cool. It's in 3D.
Yep.
Awesome. But like you said, it's one of those just experience things. It's not really a game.
Yep.
The next one, Fantastic Contraption. Same
that
thing.
one I heard is the shakiest.
Yeah.
I don't really know what it is.
It's kind of like just a
It's
bunch of
just
geometric
bunch of fun
shapes,
stuff.
and you get to move them around. It's
Right.
like, okay. And then,
Job simulator.
big old job simulator.
I heard it's awesome. Now, here's the selling part. I'll try to tie this all together. PlayStation VR is going to launch probably in the next few months, maybe in the summer, I think what it is. Now, here's why I think PlayStation VR is going to kill all of this. Now, Xbox is going to have its Microsoft tie-in, therefore PC, therefore whatever. It'll probably be fine. But PlayStation VR, if you already have the PlayStation, you buy the head unit, so you're going to spend $600 on the head unit. Mm-hmm. But it does all the processing for you. You have the downloadable games. You have the content built in already. Like, having to buy myself a new PC, which, by the way, my PC could barely run super hot, is going to suck. Because now you're talking about, hey, I'm going to spend $800 on a Vive. I got to have a PC that can run it. By the way, you do have to be tethered to your PC.
Yeah, that's
There's cords involved when you're trying to walk around a room in your virtual world. So that's why I think PlayStation VR is just custom built for when they come out, that they can make the biggest splash. They're already in your house. Mm-hmm. And then, like, the way your house is set up too, we're in a room, your largest television, I think, is hooked to your Xbox.
Yep.
But if you had a PlayStation, it would be here.
Yep.
The room is already set up for it. The PlayStation VR could be the game changer in this whole thing, because they already have the content in, like, certain games. Could you imagine playing Far Cry with that? The Far Cry Primal, that would be amazing.
Yeah,
that would be awesome
with that head unit on. So that's what I think the biggest change is going to be, and that might be the game changer. Like, I will not touch a VR unit until this settles. Like, I mean, I've been burned by things in the past. I don't want to be on the beta side of this, or the HD DVD side of this.
Speaking of Far Cry, did you see that Far Cry Primal or whatever it was?
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah. It looks amazing. It's all first person, and you're throwing spears at shit. That seems awesome for VR.
You can pet a tiger.
Pet a tiger,
awesome.
Yeah, which would be good. So yeah, I think the VR thing is gonna be. I mean, they're estimating $5.5 billion. They're saying HTC's stock went through the roof when those numbers came out. And HTC is right there with Samsung. Like, their stock doesn't move a whole lot. It's kind of like, hey, we make some phones. This one does well. This one does bad. It's still not as good as the iPhone type of thing.
Right.
But all of a sudden they went, boom, look at this outlet. We have this unit now that can equal this much sales at this price point. But still, you're talking about a phone company making you content.
Yeah, like you said, I think I wish they kept the name Project Morpheus. That was really cool.
That was kind of cool.
Yeah, that when the PlayStation VR comes out, it's going to be the game changer. That's going to be the one that takes off and makes it mainstream for everybody else.
I think so, because the unit's already in the house. It outsells Xbox by a lot. You're talking about a built-in product for people who have it. You don't have to worry about processing power.
And can you imagine if they somehow found a way to subsidize it? Like, if you buy a subscription to their game library or something, you get the VR headset for $300.
Oh, here's the other element to PlayStation, and this leads into a bigger thing, which I think would be awesome too. PlayStation has the mirrored image on your television.
Oh.
So when you're playing Job Simulator, they say the most fun is having a bunch of people in the room with you, watching you screw up making a sandwich. Because apparently that's one of your missions in the game, is to make your boss a sandwich or something. And it's all VR, so it's all clumsy and weird. But they said it's a blast to have your friends involved, and it's more of a social environment.
See, that makes more sense, because we kind of like the Rock Band era, where like everyone would pass around the
Everyone would
guitar,
come over,
you compete with each other, be goofy, and be like, man, you suck, whatever.
And it leads into the Wii thing too. Like, we used to have people over to come play Wii. Yeah.
See, okay, with that, I'm back on board.
Yeah.
But yeah, just be, like I said, that's my biggest complaint with the VR, was that you're secluded from everyone else.
Right.
You can't share, you can't interact with people, but yeah, if they can see what I'm doing and make fun of me while I'm doing it, that would be awesome.
And again, you don't get that with the Rift, and you don't get that with the Vive, because it's on your PC, and the PC actually doesn't mirror anything. It just acts as a processor. Mm-hmm. The PlayStation will mirror it on your television. And I think that's going to be huge. And also, that leads into this. And tell me if do you guys remember LAN parties?
Oh, yeah.
Remember doing that? Yeah, like, we used to have these places where you could go
play
pay
Counter-Strike.
Yeah, you paid $10 an hour, and everyone would get on a computer and have a huge LAN party.
I never paid $10 an hour.
No, you play with your friends.
But yeah, they actually we used to like actually haul our towers
yes,
and shit, and
to
they
your
actually
friend's
had
house,
straps that you could wrap
I
on your
remember
Right, I
tower.
remember that. Yes.
That you could like carry it around
Yes.
with you, you know.
We are old guys.
Yes, yeah.
But
When people had towers, and not just laptops.
then we also would go to like internet cafes, and
Yeah.
like we had where I grew up, we had a place called 201 PC,
Uh-huh.
and I think it was like $2 an hour.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, which was fine. I mean, $2.
Yeah, we
is,
had
you know.
one in college, same
Yeah.
thing. Or they just had big
Yeah.
TVs where everyone would play Halo.
Yeah.
And it was like split screen 4, you know,
That's
they'd
what I
play
did.
that. Or they had a GoldenEye set up too.
One time I was actually able to get 4 Xboxes, 4 TVs,
Yes.
4 copies of Halos all in one house.
Uh-huh.
And we just set up in 4 different rooms.
Yes.
It was amazing. It was like 16 player, you know.
I remember doing that too.
You
Yeah.
could hear people from the other room, you son of a...
But like here's the thing. Could you imagine a arcade style version of this? And remember we played Nerf Halo?
Yeah.
Like set up a giant room with Halo and everybody's got their helmets on.
Oh my God.
And you would be playing VR against each other like 6v6. I think that would be cool, and also a way I would pay $10 an hour to
That'd
do
be kinda
that.
cool.
You know, it'd be like the old school LAN parties.
You know what's funny?
Although
Like,
you probably have some great videos of people running into stuff.
I can picture somebody like thinking, you know, that this would be a good idea, and they put their you know VR goggles
Yeah.
on, and then they go ahead and
go
do
from it.
this.
Yep.
This is gonna be awesome.
Well, actually,
Yeah.
the Vive apparently has an outpointing camera.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if it.
What's it gonna
records.
look
It's-
at? The walls?
Yeah, it's probably just it's part of the chaperone thing. I think that keeps you from walking into stuff.
like-
So
Yeah, it probably has like a little picture-in-picture. By the
Yeah.
way, you are getting pretty close to this.
maybe it's like
wall,
the backup camera on your
No,
car.
it's when your wife's like, you need to take the dog out, and it pops up a picture of her face
Yeah.
right there.
Yeah, she's like tapping her foot.
You're gonna have the pissed wife picture in a picture. Like, yeah.
It's like, oh hey, hon.
So anyway, yeah, I think that the VR thing, I mean, this is the future. Whether we like it or not, we'll see what happens, but it's getting more interesting. So I think let's move on and start talking about some other possibly disappointing things with the Ghostbusters trailer.
All right.
All right, guys. So we said possibly disappointing things. The Ghostbusters just dropped its first trailer for the new movie with the all-female cast. And again, it looks okay.
I do like the graphics. I like the new take on
Yeah.
the proton pack and the ghost, how they use
The
new
trap's
techno-
kind of weird. It's
Yeah.
like a bear trap, which is
Yeah,
kinda
with
funny.
claws, laser
Yeah.
claws. That was odd.
Kind of weird.
Because if the lasers really did anything,
Right.
wouldn't it be weird that they'd be flying around the whole room
Yeah.
and you could hurt yourself?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was I thought that was dumb.
That's kind of weird.
And the dual wielding proton pistols, I am not a fan of.
That's
I'm sorry.
a little weird. Yeah.
That just took me out of the realm of reality for this movie, and I
Yeah.
was like, come on.
Now, the things that are working for it are I like the cast. I like all
Mm-hmm.
4 of those ladies. I really like Leslie Jones.
I think the suits look good.
Yeah, the suits look good. I think Paul Feig is involved, and he was the one who did The Heat, and he did Spy with Melissa McCarthy. And they write good stuff. The jokes are good, but again, you mentioned something that really kind of stuck with me, which was it's a different kind of humor than the original
Yes,
was.
very.
The original Ghostbusters, and actually the era in which we're in right now, the gross out humor is really big.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you know, dirty jokes are super big. How far can you take stuff? The era of the more subtle comedy, which actually Ghostbusters is a funny movie, but it's also not side-splittingly funny.
Yeah, and it's not like a slapstick either.
Yeah, they did the sci-fi really well, and the jokes were subtle.
Yeah.
Like it's little stuff.
Usually Bill Murray's sarcasm.
It's little, yeah. It's Bill Murray like slipping something in as you know, or yeah, just as they're like walking through a scene. Like
But
it could
again,
be
like
that simple.
that's what made Ghostbusters so popular and so loving is because it was charming that way.
Yes.
It wasn't trying to be like, I'm a clown.
Right.
You know, I'm funny. It's like,
Right.
no, I'm just being myself and being true to this character. We want to make this a serious movie,
Yeah.
and it just ended up being funny because of those characters and his sarcasm.
Right, and it was Dan Aykroyd and
Yeah.
Harold Ramis wrote it. They even didn't want to make the second one. They really had to have their hair pulled in order to get them to do that film. This is I just don't know, and again I could be absolutely wrong. Like Paul Feig, like what I'll say for him is that specifically the Heat, Spy not so much. Spy was also more of the, hey, let's do some dirty jokes and make Jason Statham swear a lot, which was a great choice actually. But like the Heat was a good movie that was funny, and that was like a throwback to the '80s movies, like Beverly Hills Cop. Stuff like that, where it was a good action story about kind of a really bad crime or a murder or something like that. So you got this serious undertone and then funny characters who were part of it. And the Ghostbusters was kind of like that too. You had these kind of unique guys, but they weren't overly funny. They weren't falling down or like doing slapsticky stuff. But it was funny, and also the story was interesting because you never saw anything like that.
Yeah.
You never saw it. And, like, the way Stay Puft was done looked real. Like, all the effects were practical and, all that type of stuff. Some of the stuff looks pretty good. Like, there's a callback in the trailer, so I assume it's probably the opening scene of the film, which is they're in the library, and the lady ghost is in front of him, and then she just vomits slime all over.
Right, yeah.
Like,
ectoplasm.
Again, they get slimed in the movie, but you never see it. They they use like Hitchcock stuff for Ghostbusters, which is like when Louis Tully gets attacked by the dog monster, the whatever Zool dog or whatever. You don't ever see it. No. You see him hit the wall and slide down and scream, and then everyone goes back to eating their dinner.
Right. Yeah.
And that's the entire scene. You never see anything like that. And this, I think, is going to be more on the, like, kind of gross. Because there's, Slimer's going to be in it, which is kind of cool to see.
That was actually really cool to see Slimer come back.
That.
Yeah.
That was cool. So, again, I have confidence in Paul Feig, and I like the ladies who do this, who are doing this movie. It's just, there's certain parts of it too that are just like, this is just being silly, and it's just gonna be lame. And
I like the trailer for the most part, and just a couple of those things like I said before. And again, the little silly slapstick comedy they throw in there, like she's wearing a wig and they're trying to hunt a ghost. I'm like, why are you trying to be funny in this moment?
Right.
I get you're a comic relief character, but
weird.
that's kind of weird. Yeah. And then what was the other problem I had with the trailer? Like, I know Melissa McCarthy has her stereotype character and all that, but she needs to they need to stop giving her those tropes. Like, I know she can be funny in her own right, but she doesn't have to be the one that always gets hit, or the one that always has to fall out of a window, or the one that has to have her exorcism head turn around. I'm like, if that happened, she'd be dead. I understand she's possessed and all that, but really?
Yeah. So
well,
I mean,
Linda Blair did the same thing, though.
Right, that's true. But yeah, well, we'll see how it all plays out. The hard part is you are screwing with a film.
Yeah.
That has a lot, like, at least for me, I don't know how many times I've seen Ghostbusters. My brother would come home from school, and I think for an entire year we watched Ghostbusters every day after school. Like, we watched it that many times.
I had all the toys. I had the firehouse.
All the toys. I even watched the cartoon show.
Oh yeah, the real Ghostbusters.
Remember there was two. Yep. There was the real Ghostbusters and like the original Ghostbusters or something like that. Or there was the Ghostbusters. Yeah, if it wasn't the regular guys. Yeah, I even had the dumb toys where they like would go, get scared. Oh god, that was so. I don't know. I hated those toys. But anyway,
honestly, though, I'd rather go in there with low standards and have it be
I agree. Be good,
be a pleasant surprise than go in there with my hopes up and then just be like, man, that sucked.
Right. Yeah. And I'm also not one of those people. I like to give things the benefit of the doubt before I walk in, because I know some people are just like, screw it, terrible. I'm like, you haven't seen it.
Yeah.
So anyway, again, it's going to be different. It's going to be interesting. We'll see how it goes. We'll talk to you guys again when there's a second trailer.
Yeah.
And maybe the second trailer will clear up some things. But concerning trailers, there is a final Batman Superman trailer. Again, we're not breaking any news here. I think it came out 3 or 4 days ago. So it's been out a while. It's not that big a deal because it's going to open at the end of the month, I believe. The
25th.
25th? Mm-hmm. So the coolest thing about it was watching the Batman fight sequence where he fights like 30 guys, and the action in that scene was unreal.
He didn't waste any time taking out any person. Like, every single person was one punch down.
Yeah, it reminded me of the way he fights in the comic books, as much as it could be as a one panel of him like drilling somebody. could feel. That's what that felt like. Was like you were getting the visceral, like when he's like racking a guy and he's coming up off of his feet. And like then he throws a guy into a wall and a big chunk of the wall comes out. And then when he drills the final guy in the head and drills him down into the ground.
Down. That was amazing.
I'm kind of like, yeah, Batman should be super strong and tough and whatever. But I didn't mind that little bit of a comic book element because, and I'll say this, the worst part of the first Christopher Nolan Batman, the first Batman.
Oh, you couldn't see his fight.
That was the worst fighting sequences that I've ever seen in a film.
Yeah, and that was,
I have never seen anything that bad in a large budget movie.
And it was so funny too because they had like promoted like, oh yeah, we did this kind of training, this kind of martial art, blah blah, to use close combat. It's like cool.
God.
Let's see it. Not even freaking close up. We're not Jason Bourne.
Jason Bourne did it too. That's
like I remember
that too. It was all this like
thing.
Shaky cam, and you see the punches, but you have no feeling for who's winning this fight. I have no clue. All I'm seeing is punches connect to heads and things. Like it blew me away to watch that movie and watch that entire final fight between him and Ra's al Ghul and literally don't know what just happened.
Yeah.
Like you just heard punches land was all you heard.
Yep.
Again, it should be it is shot like the way this Batman one looks, it looks like a kung fu movie. Those were always the best at screw it. Set it up and watch a guy do karate is pretty rad. Mm-hmm. I don't need up close shots and shaky cam and like GoPro reactions of stuff, man. Just show me the stuff. There's also a couple of things you see, just like quickly, and I'll throw this in here as a plug for something that doesn't need to be plugged. The DC All Access app is super cool. Like if you're into DC Comics, if you want to know anything they have coming out, they have an app for your phone that will play videos. They have a breakdown of the trailer, which I thought was really cool.
Oh, that's awesome.
They do a breakdown by DC of a DC movie. Which is really cool.
Yeah.
And they got like, cool hosts and stuff like that. And then they also have comic book content. They have a point system that you can kind of level yourself up with in the app. So it's really cool. I liked that. They did some of the breakdown, and some of the breakdown you see Superman slam Batman up through a building, which is pretty cool.
Nice.
And then have him slowly trying to get himself up, and then Superman yelling at him that he's gonna if he wanted to kill him he would have killed him already. But then in that sequence, we already saw that in a different trailer. But then Batman throws down a smoke bomb, which is kind of funny because it's kind of a harken back to the old school Batman. Yeah. And then Superman flies through super fast and blows all the smoke away, and he's gone. But then it cuts to a over the shoulder shot of Batman with a gun, pointing it at Superman. I don't know what kind of gun it is. I assume it's not bullets, but then or it's like some sort of grenade, and then Superman catches the bullet as it comes to him, and then it cuts. But I think
should have cut it in his teeth.
Yeah, just to be a dick. Yeah. They had the shot in the last movie, the Man of Steel, where in his eyeball is the bullet is crushing because you can't fucking hurt him. So anyway, that looks really cool. Moving on. So those are our two trailers that we want to talk about. So then there is now kind of a funky rumor that has started that, well, I guess it's not really a rumor. Abrams came out and said that, yes, in the universe of Star Wars, of course there would be homosexual characters. Mm-hmm. But then Mark Hamill adds a little something to it, and then all of a sudden everybody's like, whoa, wait a minute.
But he neither confirms nor denies.
That's true.
Right.
He just leaves it up to you.
Yeah, but his comments are somewhat ominous, and you're like, okay, well, kind of makes sense. It could totally happen. Sure. I mean, I don't see why not.
Yeah,
but
so Mark Hamill did a chat with The Sun and said pretty much he's been getting a lot of mail and feedback about this announcement and what does he think, blah, blah, blah. And he says, Mark Hamill says, they say to me, could Luke be gay? I'd say it is meant to be interpreted by the viewer. If you think Luke is gay, of course he is. You should not be ashamed of it. Judge Luke by his character, not by who he loves. Which I think is a good message. And it's true. It's like, who cares?
Yep.
Yeah.
Do you know what would actually be the more fertile ground for this subject matter would be Star Trek, actually. Because Star Trek, broke a lot of grounds. Well, yeah, I mean, Takai's gay, but he wasn't gay on the show. Yeah, but they always had characters of color and different races that back in the 60s, you never saw that. Like, it was a big deal that Uhura was on the deck, and that she was an officer and that she was in charge of stuff and whatever. She wasn't in some sort of subservient role on the show. And then, George Takei was an Asian actor. There was no Asian actors on television. And then you had a Russian guy, and that was a big deal because of the Cold War. But, stuff like that was big on Star Trek. And to get into that, I would almost see that as a better ground for something of that nature. But again, Star Wars, why not? I got no problem with it. Whatever, it could go either way. Also, it still makes that kiss with his sister super weird. Again, that's a hetero act, but it's also an incestuous act, and you're getting into some dark territory after a while. I mean, again, it wasn't like a makeout or a grope fest or something like that, which would have been super bizarre.
It just shows how progressive we've become in a society that, the biggest movie pretty much in the world, Star Wars, is now coming in line with the times and saying, it's okay, it doesn't matter,
Right, yeah.
Like Hamill said, judge the character by the character, not who he loves or whatever. It's like, he's got so many good traits about himself that, you should be able to believe in this person.
Yeah. And the other thing is, the way that Star Wars was told, and I think some of the main appeal of Star Wars, is it's not a love story wrapped in an action film. It was an action film. Mm-hmm. There is a love story to an extent with Leia and Han, but it's a B plot to the Luke and Darth Vader storyline. I mean, you can go back and do the prequels, and then you get the Anakin and Padme thing, which is fine, I guess. It was just, I don't know. Hayden Christensen was just terrible. But, but you could say that, I guess. But it's always been the B plot instead of the A plot.
Yeah.
Because a lot of action films will do that, where it's a love story that's happening against this, like, cool action background, But, or the opposite, which is like Cloverfield, which is giant monster story and totally hacked together. I still didn't understand that. Like, I love the monster part. Why did you need to cut in 8mm footage of people falling in love? I never understood that. But
with episodes 4, 5, and 6, Han Solo is more of. I wouldn't call those like a love story. I mean, he was more of the male chauvinist.
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you see that.
The Force Awakens, they appeared to have been separated.
Yeah,
that was a very asexual story. Yeah, there is no thing with her and Finn, or anything like that.
Yeah, but although they were separated, it was also apparent that there was they cared for each other deeply.
Yeah.
Luke and Han and
Leia.
Yeah. And that's cool, 'cause
and he wasn't really so
system.
much the male chauvinist that he was in 4, 5, and 6.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's clearly changed a little bit too.
Well,
he's
also-
been softened too. He's had a child.
He's in his
too,
70s now. I mean.
Right. That's true too. So, in the Star Wars realm, also you can see my new toys, which I have a disease, people. I don't know what the hell's going on. Like, I'm not opening them anymore, and I'm buying them compulsively at Target.
That Darth Vader one you found is actually pretty cool. I've never seen that toy before.
That's why I bought it. Yeah, I found that at a Walgreens, of all places, and I was in there buying, of course, like baby formula or something like that, and I'm like, I'm going to walk down the toy aisle, see what they got. And I see a Darth Vader where you can see his skull through the helmet, which I'm like, why in the world would you make a toy that is literally like a handful of frames in the movie?
Yeah, this is a transparent helmet where you can see a skull inside and it looks like he's being lit up or something.
Yeah, like he's being lit up, which happens only when he throws the Emperor in and there's residual lightning hitting him in the movie. It's like a 1-second scene and they made a toy for it.
I think it's really cool.
Yeah, I thought that was the coolest thing, so that's why I grabbed it. But anyway, as more Star Wars news is that Battlefront has a DLC dropping. And this is kind of a big deal because the game came out under so much controversy, and it's settled down nicely.
Yeah.
Like, there are still gameplay functions that are not great in the game, but I play Battlefront all the time with my son.
It's still a fun game to play.
I don't mind. I love jumping into Walker, whatever. Walker Assault. I still haven't played any of the droid games.
Yeah, but I think the major controversy came was when you're already paying $6 for the game, and then you're tacking on another $50 just for the season pass for these extra DLCs that you
That's a
didn't
lot.
know what was coming out.
Yeah.
Now we got our first piece. It's called the Outer Rim DLC.
Well, they gave us Joku for free,
Yes.
which was cool.
Yeah, but this is going to be the first actual paid DLC
Full
that
on.
you have to pay for. You're going to get new locations like the Jabba's throne room and also the sail barge on Tatooine, which I think would be
that
really
would be
cool.
awesome, yeah.
You get to play as 2 new characters, Greedo.
Yeah, do you have the other guy's name?
Yeah, it says right here it's Nain Nunb.
Okay, that's easy to pronounce.
It's the co-pilot to...
He's Lando's co-pilot.
Yeah.
He flies the Falcon.
Yeah.
He goes...
Judging by Lando's name, you would assume he's Armenian, but...
A lot of ethnic stereotypes have been attached to that character.
Oh, yeah.
And what's funny is he kind of exists in the game now, or characters of his... whatever
Race,
yeah. But as non-playables, like they just run around, and occasionally you get hit by a rocket from one of them.
Yeah, then you also get a new mode in this called Extraction, where you have to go in and get valuable shipment resources and try and extract it to you.
Try to get it out. That's pretty smart. Again, I like new stuff, and they could feel free to subtract too. You know, if you got a bad gameplay function that nobody's using, get rid of it.
Yeah.
You know, and I love. The only thing that's kind of funny about Battlefront is that Battlefront pigeonholed itself between the films. So certain things can't exist in the Battlefront world, and I don't really like that because I can never play as Kylo Ren.
Right.
And there's certain characters you just can't ever be because of that. What
But
they
you
should
could
do
be
is
Matt, the IT guy.
I can, yeah, Matt, the IT guy.
Yeah.
That's true. But what also see too is give us some skins.
Yeah.
Give me Leia in a different thing. Give me the buns. Give me Luke in the white instead of only the black Jedi one. But I don't know if you can do that, can you? It's between the films.
No, it's always...
Sure, that's why it's all Jedi.
Oh, yeah.
That's right. I forgot about that. Breaking my own rule here. But anyway, so yeah, I love seeing the DLC come out, and people seem excited about it.
Yeah.
You know, they're not like, oh no, Star Wars,
It's not worth my money.
yeah, where's my money? Yeah. So, and also on the video game front, Mass Effect. Eric is a huge Mass Effect fan.
Yeah.
That's actually when we first started talking to each other. We were stuck in a trailer together. You were the editor on American Restoration, and I was the production coordinator. And I remember you talking about this game so much, and I'm just like, sounds awesome. I don't know. I didn't know anything about games at the time, but yeah, just kind of laying out for us about what's going on with this
so
thing.
pretty much Mass Effect Andromeda got pushed again to first quarter of 2017 now.
Oh my God, that is so far.
Yeah,
before they supposed to drop this year.
Yeah, this year, holiday.
Yeah.
And I was looking really forward to it, but now they're being pushed again, which I'm totally cool with. It's gonna suck to not play it sooner, but again, I'd rather them have the time to polish it, make sure it's perfect, because it's been almost 5 years now.
Yeah, that is a
Since the third
long
one?
time to go between games. This is also it's a heavy story game.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
And
I think taking those long breaks sometimes is going to hurt you. The good and bad to it is it's not a Destiny game to where you can still kind of like go play multiplayer or something. You probably could.
in the third one, they introduced multiplayer, but the multiplayer wasn't as fun as other multiplayers. It was okay. I mean, the draw for Mass Effect is the story, and honestly, I've gone back and played all 3 Mass Effect games multiple times because there's so much diversion you can do.
All your different choices like affect the story, right?
Exactly, or your layout, or your relationship with this person, or the way that person looks or acts, or different storylines. Like it's amazing how much crisscross you can do with this game and stories. So I've played through the games multiple times. So I'm sad that it's delayed, but I'm happy that it's also going to be polished and just perfect.
Yeah, I mean that's a big thing, especially with you're talking a AAA title. You're talking something that's super story heavy. You got to make sure that it's good.
Yeah.
You know, you got to go Fallout 4 with it. You can't half-ass it and hope it works. On that front, the only other thing I'll bring this up real fast. Do you think they've waited too long for Gears of War?
4?
Yeah.
No, I don't think
No,
so.
do you think Judgment was okay?
Judgment was really good, actually.
Okay,
a lot of
cool.
people gave a good review.
That was the only other question, because that's another one where it's got a heavy story, but also heavy action. But then it's like, we've waited a long time for this next one to come out, and kind of forget, you get lost in all the other worlds that you're playing in with different games, that if Gears waited too long.
I don't think they did. I think they waited kind of just enough time because I'm looking forward to going back to the roots of how Gears used to be like a very horror-centric shooter. Because they kind of got away from that from the first one, and then 2 and 3, and then Judgment. It's got more action-based and all that. But yeah, the fourth one looks really, really good.
All right, guys. I think that about does it for the Pop Geek Podcast number 24. What do you guys feel about that?
It was good.
Yes, sir.
Good. All right, guys. Check us out on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook and God knows what else. We're going to keep doing this live thing, and we're going to eventually figure it out and try to put it on Twitch or YouTube Gaming or whatever.
Yeah, but, we do have a Twitch TV thing going on that we're going to be doing pretty soon.
We're going to do a lot more Twitch stuff because Xbox changed its thing, so now that Party Chat will be audible. So you can actually hear me talk to Eric and not just me one-sided having a bizarre converation with someone. So.
Yeah, especially with the Division coming out this week, guys. We both bought it,
Lots
so
of
we'll
Division.
be online playing.
And we're going to do, I don't know, Gears. But
we just need to get them to get PlayStations.
Maybe if they sell
the
a bundle
PlayStation
with
VR
VR
starts going.
You're not going to have a choice.
Yeah.
All right, guys. We'll see you next time.
Bye, guys.
Take it easy.